the times where life was the hardest and I felt like I was making the least progress, it was usually when I knew the answer, I just didn't want to admit it. It's sometimes the right thing and the hardest thing are the same thing.
The person who takes responsibility, the person who takes ownership, the person who holds themselves accountable is the person who transforms. And the person who transforms ends up in the better position long term, even though they're the ones who look like the maybe butt head in the beginning.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1797, we're creeping up on 1800. This one thing dictates so much of your life. So today, I was looking for inspiration for what we were going to talk about. And I went back to some old podcast episodes.
Episode
I'm not gonna,
350.
No, don't do it. Don't say it, because we're going to do it again. Don't say it. Don't say it. But you kind of
Episode X.
Episode 350X. 350 something. But I was listening to that episode, and
Hey.
yeah.
What did you think of us?
Oh, it was brutal. Yeah, it was brutal. So I couldn't listen to the whole thing. I quite
What
literally.
specifically?
I'm so loud. I'm just so loud.
Yeah.
Just when
Less confident in who
insecure.
you are.
Yeah, when insecure, make more noise from your mouth. It's almost, that was kind of my playbook. If you're insecure, just yell the things that you're saying, and then people will believe them. Wrong, not true. That's one. The static back then was terrible.
Was
The
it
static in those episodes, yeah, it's brutal.
Were we
I did
in the
a Pepsi
studio at that
challenge.
point?
In the 300s? I don't know. No. I don't know. I have no idea. I feel like we were in Mom's basement at that point, maybe. But
Yeah.
probably not. Because we were in the studio for 500. At that point, we were doing at least 5 a week. So it's only 160, 30 weeks. We had the studio for a couple of years, right? So we're probably in the studio. We didn't know what we were doing.
Apparently not. You
As
know what it
much as
is
we do
too?
today.
We've just improved. That's it.
the
We've
goal.
improved a lot.
That's the goal.
Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, no, I had a moment last night. So Taryn's away. She's pet sitting for one of her friends. So
Nice.
I've been So I've been alone since Sunday. So Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night.
A couple
She's coming
dogs and a
home.
cat, or
I think it's a dog and 2 cats or something like that.
nice.
Yeah. And one of the cat's name is Kevin. So
Nice.
she can't get away from me. Even when you go pet sitting, I'm there, baby. I'm there. But I was thinking last night, I had this realization. I texted Taryn this. I said, I just had a moment where I realized that when I am away, I am not homesick, I am you sick. Because you are my home. Because even though you're not here and I'm laying in my bed, I still have those
Same
feels.
feels. Yeah.
It was very
It's good.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
good,
it was very
good
important.
distinction. It's good to know that.
It was very important to know that. Because it doesn't matter where I am. If she's not there, then it's not going to be the same. And it was a really cool feeling. Because I'm used to being homesick when I travel, but I'm not homesick. My wife's sick. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool
That
stuff.
means
All right.
she's home. That's
She is.
big.
And I've been saying that. I've been saying that for the last 5 years. That she's my home. She's my safe space. She's my warmth. When I go home after a long day of battle, she's my safe place. All right, so what are we talking about today? I was listening to the old episode, and as brutal as it was, there were some lessons. There was some value in there. And I think, for me at least, this one thing dictates so much of your life. How fast do you go from misalignment back into alignment? How fast do you go from stuck back into momentum? And maybe the most powerful frame for me would be, how fast do you go from excuses to logic? Now, I know I've used this example a million times, and it's one of the best examples ever. There was a time where I was in a situationship with someone. I knew it was never going to be a relationship, and I knew it. I knew that this is not aligned, this is not aligned, this is not aligned, this is not aligned. But the person kept saying, this is a line for me, this is a line for me, this is a line for me, even though I knew it wasn't. Go ahead.
How ironic is it in hindsight that
Mm.
that person thought that you would change your mind? Which in hindsight,
Couldn't have been any clearer. I
And-
tried so hard to say, look, this is never, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking eventually I'm going to fall. I'm not. I'm telling you I'm not. I've done this before. I've done this before. This isn't going to happen the way you think.
you're not home.
And then you're going to hate me.
Yep.
You're going to absolutely hate me, and I do not want to be the reason that you struggle with relationships in the future or have trust issues in the future. I don't want to be that.
Isn't it paradoxical how the fact that she was, and again, arrogant enough to think that you would change your mind is actually why you would never change your mind? I find that really fascinating.
I don't know if I would say arrogant. I might say naive, potentially naive enough. But
Fair.
I mean, maybe same things on opposite ends of the spectrum. But I had that thought for a long time. And one of the reasons it caused so much pain is because I did not go from misalignment to alignment fast enough. And I think we're all guilty of that in something. In what's a good example of this? Go ahead.
I know that you're scared to share this on a public medium, but
Oh boy.
what do you think the humility of that person was in hindsight? I have a point, I promise.
What do I think the humility was? Yeah, I don't like talking. I don't like seeming like I'm talking negative about someone because I don't mean it that way.
I know, but I'm asking. It's not like you're talking negatively.
Not
Not high, right?
not high. No, not high.
What I've found in a lot of relationships, not all, but a lot. Emilia and I are coming up on our 4th year just coaching different couples and then also learning about our own relationship. Usually there's one partner, not always, but a lot of times there's one person who struggles with humility and one who is struggling with courage. I think you didn't have the courage. I mean, you did have the courage to tell her. So you obviously did your part with that. But what I've found happens a lot is when one partner struggles with courage, the other one usually struggles with humility, and they are connected. In other words, the more courage one of the partners has, the more humility the other person will have.
I don't know if I actually had that much humility at that point. Because I
You sure that's not just coming off the episode?
no, I mean that's probably a piece of it.
Yeah.
But I think I was still delusional to what all this was going to be. You know, I didn't have the lessons that I have today, and I didn't have the experiences that I have. I think I was very naive, and I think maybe being naive and being arrogant are two roots of the same tree, potentially. I was just naive to all of this. I had no idea.
Naive, arrogant, ignorant, delusional.
Right.
I think arrogance a different energy. Naive is accidental delusion. I think arrogant is you kind of know deep down that you're.
But it's all lack of awareness.
Agreed.
Right? It's lack of awareness and lack of accuracy. And maybe I don't know. And I felt like I was doing something cool for the first time ever. I was an entrepreneur. I made my own schedule. You know, I'm sure there was pieces of me that were arrogant at that point. I didn't know how to date, because I think that was the first person I dated after becoming an entrepreneur. After like leaving my job, I think that was the first person I dated. So I didn't really understand how everything worked yet. It was a weird time in my life for sure. In retrospect, I don't think I understood how weird it was until I look back. But that was a very strange time.
Yeah. That's
weird.
Usually how it works.
Right? But
you look back and go, wow, that was...
Yeah. It makes sense now, but at the time it just felt like life. That's kind of the existence of life. But yeah, the ultimate point that I wanted to make and touch on in this episode is that the times where life was the hardest and I felt like I was making the least progress, it was usually when I knew the answer, I just didn't want to admit it. It's sometimes the right thing and the hardest thing are the same thing. You've heard me say, I haven't said that in a long time, but that's something I used to say often. Sometimes the right thing and the hard thing are the same thing. Sometimes the right thing and the easy thing are the opposites.
I would say most of the time.
Probably. Yeah, I think because the hard thing is usually the thing that you don't want to do, which is usually probably the thing that's best for you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to break that off with that person. More for them than for me. I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want to. It was almost like if I did that, then all the time we spent together, I don't want you to think that I was leading you on, even though I told you I wasn't. Because when it comes to an end, now it's a cycle. And now there was a beginning, a middle, and the end, and now you're going to start looking back and reflecting and saying, wait, this was never going to be a thing? No, that's what I said. I said that at the beginning. But now that there's an end, there's a cause, there's a reason for you to villainize me.
Were you afraid to be villain? Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and I was. I was. Remember? I don't remember the exact message, but it was.
I do.
It was I don't remember the whole thing. It was a long, long, long message.
Isn't it wild how you got villainized even though you said this is exactly what was going to happen?
Yes.
And where's the responsibility on her end? Seriously.
Well, yes, and. I knew I was going to get villainized.
It's so brutal. That's so hard for me to accept because
there's feelings.
Listen, it's your responsibility she decided to continue a relationship with someone who said, I'm never going to fall for you. This is never going to be long term.
Yeah, but
where is her responsibility in that?
It wasn't there. In fairness, it wasn't there. But
right.
it was all an emotion. It was emotional. It was emotional. And then naturally, when things end, you're going to be emotional about it. And
that's like me being like, hey, Kev, I'm coming over. But no matter what, I have to leave it too. And then when I leave it too, you'd be like, what the fuck, man? It's like, wait a minute.
But there's no
I told
emotions.
you I had to leave it too.
If it was, if it was my birthday party and I valued birthday parties at 10 out of 10 and you left it too, I'd be upset.
And then it's my responsibility to know that and then to not come to your birthday.
Or stay till 4.
That's actually a really good lesson. I have made that mistake. Yeah, or stay until 4 and have a half dozen twisted teas.
Of course, yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, I'm very serious. I will stay all night and I will have twisted teas. If it's the right person on the right date, I'm in. I'm down to ride. Well, yeah, that's the ultimate thought. The person could have taken more responsibility, but so could have I. Could have too. I could have. When we decided, look, this isn't going to be a relationship, I very easily could have said, we can't hang out at all. I very easily could have. I was trying to get my needs met. I was lonely. I was sad. I was dealing with being an entrepreneur. I was grasping at railings. I think it was probably a lack of courage and a lack of discipline. Yeah.
Yeah. The high road always is the harder road. Hello, NLU listener. Thank you, as always, for listening to Next Level University. Real quick, I just want to jump in and let you know about the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that I use every single day. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It breaks down your dreams into goals, milestones, and daily habits. We hope you enjoy it. The link will be in the show notes.
Maybe that's the lesson, is the amount of, and again, this isn't going to be like a quote that sticks because I don't think it's fully true, but it's the beginning of maybe an exploration.
I love it. Different than the 300s, Kev.
Yeah, a little bit. The difference between knowing better and doing better, I don't know what that is, like what that means, but whatever that is probably going to be how much you regret.
Yeah.
The difference between I know better and I'm doing better, that's like where we get stuck. I knew better. I knew better. I didn't do better. And
there's a lot of things where you didn't know better and then it goes poorly and then you regret it and then you learn.
But I wonder if you regret it less. Probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah. Because there are things you know you should do that you don't do. Then there are things you know you shouldn't do that you do.
Do.
I knew you were going to say. The gap between awareness and action. What is it? Courage? Maybe. Is it lack of humility? Maybe. Is it lack of self-discipline? Often.
Yeah.
Is it... Usually there's a fear under there.
I think it's commitment. I think it's really like, how committed are you to actually getting and doing what you say you want and are going to do?
That's a big point of it. Yeah, for sure.
And just for context, the person eventually reached out and sent me a long message and then said, also, fuck you.
Whoa.
And I've never mentioned this. Later, probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, because I didn't respond to that. And it was like, I'm not going to do this. We're not doing this. I'm not going to have an argument with you. Whatever. You win. Fuck me, right? Cool. Awesome. I think like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, they reached out and said, hey, I was talking to a friend about the gym and fitness or something, and I looked you up to see what you were up to. And I remember she said, you look chunky and you look like you're really enjoying life. And I remember thinking to myself, what? That's what you come with?
Yeah.
And again, I was nice. It is like, I'm going to be fine. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. I'm good. It's fine. That's fine. You want to throw a little backhanded compliment. It's all good. But I just think, I don't know, man. Even then I understood. This
that's
person's
unjust.
Yeah, but this person's hurt.
Yeah, but that's not okay.
It's not
She doesn't
okay.
mean she gets to hurt you.
Yeah, but she didn't hurt me. She
A
didn't.
little bit.
No. I wasn't chunky. I was jacked. Come on, man.
Okay.
I was in really good shape. But I think...
I would have stood up for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. And then you would have been villainized heavily, and then I would have wanted to stand up for you, and it would have been the whole cycle that...
Yeah.
It's just not...
Worth it to you.
The lesson for me is I could have stopped that long before it ever got to that point. And I didn't. It would have been easier for me to stop it because the other person didn't want to. And they knew. I'm certain they knew eventually it would go wrong. They just didn't want to get to that admittance point. Or I already was aware of it. I should have done something.
So let's talk about that. Why didn't they want to get to the admittance, or why didn't they get to the admittance point? Because that's the lesson in the episode. Because you mentioned before we recorded, how honest can you be with yourself and then go from that to change?
Yeah. This person did not have a history of good relationships. This person had been treated very badly in the past. And me halfway in was better than I think anything she assumed she could get all the way at that point.
Yeah.
And I think that's what she was getting, her needs met. Maybe she felt safe for the first time. You know, maybe she felt supported. Maybe she felt whatever it was. But I think it was just a comparison of, well, all my other relationships or situationships or people in my life have been extremely negative and this person isn't. I'm going to see where this goes. And even if it goes wrong, the wrong might not be as wrong as it has been in the past. So that's still improvement. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't negative. It was even the fact that it started off as like a potential relationship and then we realized it wasn't going to get that way. Even the situationship and hanging out and spending time together was better than nothing for that person. It was better than the alternative. And it was for me too. It was for me too until it wasn't. And I got to the point where I said, yeah, I'm getting some needs met, but I'm also preventing myself. Let's say right now I'm getting my physical needs met. I'm not really getting my emotional needs met because it's not a focus. I'm not really getting my certainty needs met when it comes to building a future with this person, but I'm getting my physical needs met, and that's what it feels like I need right now, more than anything, because I am crumbling under the weight of this goal and these dreams. So I knew I was getting something out of it too. So it was, to me, it made sense to do it.
Well, the lesson under this is if it's not a win-win, it's a lose, and unfortunately, it was a win-win that eventually becomes a win-lose.
Yeah. But I take ownership for that. I think the person with higher awareness has higher responsibility. I had higher awareness. I knew it was going to happen. That's on me. That's on me as much as it's on the other person. Probably more, honestly. The way they react, maybe that could have been different. But the way I...
The way they reacted is almost proof of the fact that it's not a person you want to spend long term with. I know that's a hard truth, but that's the truth. It's
that's fair.
The way she reacted is actually proof that you shouldn't have been with her in a way.
But isn't it the opposite too, where the way I set things up is also proof?
No, because you were honest. You were super honest. I was there for that whole thing. You were super honest, man.
I was going through it.
The amount of immaturity that came as a byproduct of that is exactly why you didn't want to be with her. That's the irony.
Yeah.
That's the paradox. It's you were of higher value, and you were trying to be very honest, and the other person, ironically, paradoxically, the way she reacted to that whole thing is actually ironically the reason you didn't actually want more. And again, what's the lesson under that rather than, and I'm not trying to be unkind here. There's something to be said for that. There's someone who, she didn't take the high road. No way. And then the backhanded compliment later of, hey, you got chunky. That's not any high road. There's no high road there. And that's the truth. So I just wanted to say that. It's not a high road.
Fired me
and
up.
You know why it's so hard to take the high road? Because it requires a tremendous amount of personal development. You have to believe in yourself a ton. You have to have high self-worth. You have to have super high humility. You have to have great emotional maturity, emotional regulation. You have to understand your parts. You have to do therapy work. You have to do coaching work. You have to be a grown adult. And it's very, very hard. I get it. Like I understand. And yeah, probably your fault more than anyone at the end of the day because you knew better.
Yeah.
But like, where's the other end of that? Where's the other person's? I mean, she's a grown woman who made her own choices, dude. I just can't.
Well,
I don't
you know
know
me though. I'm hard on myself when it comes to that stuff.
And I appreciate that, but that's the irony too. You're so hard on yourself taking all the ownership, which is exactly why you're a high value man that she wants to be with. That's the irony. That's the paradox. And I've been in your position, I've been in your position many times with friends, with family, with team members, with intimate partners, and unfortunately you're the one who gets villainized even though you were the one who was adding value the whole time.
Well, I know I did my best and I know I could have done better. Now in retrospect, I could have done better. And again, the point is not for me to talk about past situationships. I know I tell that story often, and the reason I tell that story is because there were so many lessons in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So many lessons that I never thought I would get came from situations like that where I know we got to hop here in a minute, but there is a story in Parks and Rec. Not the one I usually tell, but I've told this one before probably when we talked about this, but one of the main characters, Ron Swanson, something happened and he like broke his toe or dropped something on his toe and he knew, or maybe he got a splinter, I don't know. And it was either him or somebody. I haven't watched it in a long time. I got rid of YouTube TV, so I lost Parks and Rec, so I haven't watched a Parks and Rec episode in a minute. But somebody had something happen to their toe. And they knew there was something wrong with it, and they said, I should go to the doctors. I'll go. And they never went. And they ended up losing their toe. And when they went to the doctor said, if you just came in when this happened, it would be fine. So now Ron Swanson says, I have as many toes as I have. Is kind of what he says. Like, if somebody says, how many toes do you have? He says, I have as many as I have. That's how many toes I have. I'm pretty sure it was 9. Which I think is 9, at least. But yeah, no, at most 9. It's
a good metaphor, though, because that's exactly what it is. If you had just come in
100%.
When this first happened, if you had just ended the relationship or the situationship when you knew to, and
when
that's
I
the
tried,
trust your intuition thing.
I tried, and the person said, no, let's keep doing this. It's like,
but you didn't have the courage to say no. Let's not do it.
100%.
And that is the part that you should take ownership for. Yeah. The rest of the stuff. I mean, well, again, I'm also in a phase where I'm trying not to take 150% ownership for everything, even though honestly, and this is the weird sort of meta lesson. It'll be the last thing I say, I promise. I do think that it's empowering to take responsibility, even if it's, I had something happen to me recently where I said, I know there's a lick of truth in this, and I'm going to find the truth in it. And I went through the entire message with Emilia, and I said, what of this is actually true? Because I'm going to change those things. I'm going to work on those things. But you can't go to work on the things that are not real.
Yeah.
So the person who takes responsibility, the person who takes ownership, the person who holds themselves accountable is the person who transforms. And the person who transforms ends up in the better position long term, even though they're the ones who look like the maybe butthead in the beginning.
The butthead. And
because you transformed so much since then through all these lessons. I mean, think about how much that's been a lesson for you that has skyrocketed you into a bigger, better, brighter future.
One of the most.
And the other person who thinks none of it was their fault probably hasn't changed at all.
Well, yeah, it's one of the most valuable lessons for sure for me. That's why I like talking about it so much. Not because I like talking about my friends with benefits situations I've had in the past. It's not that. This was a lesson that I will never forget, ever, for as long as I live.
Imagine I point at Kevin for every mistake we've ever made at NLU, and I always blame Kevin. I don't get to learn or grow at all. I'll just stay the same. I'll be the self-righteous one who stays the same while Kevin keeps getting better. And then eventually Kevin's not going to want to be my business partner. I think there's a lot of lessons in that. So when people only point fingers outward, be careful. That's
100%.
That's a lesson. When people
100%.
only point fingers at you, be careful.
All right, we got to go because I have a coaching call in 2 minutes. Make sure you're subscribed if you have not subscribed on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us on, or if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe there so you never miss an opportunity to get to the next level. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Please reach out.